Hey everybody, Brett here. I am leaving tomorrow on my epic Whitehorse to Vancouver trip. About 36 hours. I have done up a video regarding my route planning and some of the decisions I've made and some of the things that I'm looking for and hoping for. And I hope you enjoy it. All right, I've been doing some route planning and plugged it all into PlugShare, which is a little bit janky at times, but sometimes it actually has some useful features, and I have to say it's been really, really helpful here. So you can see that to go from Whitehorse all the way down to Vancouver, I'm essentially traveling the entire length of British Columbia, and I'm kind of doing it the long way because there is no real easy route to get through here. So believe it or not, this is the fastest way to get from where I am to where I want to be. So we are going to take a closer look. I've got 9 different stops planned here, and we'll go through each one of them. The first couple are completely mandatory. I have no flexibility whatsoever. Teslin is going to be my first charging stop, and it is a couple of hours south of Whitehorse. It's a 50 kilowatt charger. It's I think I've got pictures of my own car at, yeah, there I am. So yes, I have been to this charger before. It does reliably put out 50 kilowatts. It is not bad at all. So after that, it's about another almost 3 hours to get to Watson Lake, and the last of the Yukon government chargers that I'm going to be able to use. And again, I might have a picture on PlugShare here. We'll see. I might not have taken a picture. I've only been there once. Oh, I see. These are the Tesla guys that are on their way back from Tuktoyaktuk right now, or they're on their way to Tuktoyaktuk. I don't think they've charged enough to actually make it there yet. So that'll be the last of those. Now, there is Highway 37, and that does get you down. It does work. However, the charging options there are not quite as attractive as the ones that are now available along the Alaska Highway. So I would much prefer to take the Alaska Highway going this way from Watson Lake anyway, because I know that road really, really well. I used to drive truck on there, and I've driven it literally hundreds of times. So I'm very familiar with it. It's a beautiful road, and I love driving on it. So I know it really, really well. Now, as of just a few days ago, we have this wonderful new charger at Liard Hot Springs. It is one of BC Hydro's new portable chargers. It comes in a shipping container. It is powered by solar. It is also powered, yes, by a combustion engine. There's a propane engine, and I guess they'll remotely monitor and decide when it gets low enough. I believe these panels will provide some charging to the internal battery. It does run off an internal battery, and that's all going to be dependent on just how many people are using it. If these are charging, say, 3 kilowatts, which I would guess that would be roughly, if these are charging 3 kilowatts and they run through 10 hours of sunshine without charging a car, that's going to be 30 kilowatt hours. That's extremely oversimplistic, so bear with me. BC Hydro is doing a few of these. They've already got a few deployed, and apparently there's more coming. So that's really encouraging. The other nice thing about Liard Hot Springs, I put myself down for an hour and a half at Liard Hot Springs. Number one, I need to be able to make Fort Nelson, and that's a few hundred kilometers, and that's theoretically well within my Machi's range. But I also know from my years of experience on this highway that This is extremely mountainous driving, a lot of elevation change, a lot of climbing. So I know that that's going to be challenging. And in fact, and I'm going to want to have 100%. So I'm going to do an hour and a half charging at Liard River, but there's a nice little benefit to that in that there is a beautiful hot spring there that I can walk away from the car and go take a dip in the hot springs for an extended period. So I'm going to enjoy that tremendously. Now, my next stop is going to be Fort Nelson. This one's a little bit iffy right now, and I have workarounds. This is showing as coming soon. It did actually show up as operational on BC Hydro's app a couple of days ago and was quickly taken down again, but that suggests to me that it's very close to operational, and it may very well be actually running by the time I make it down on Wednesday night, and it'll be late Wednesday when I get there. If this one is not running, there is a backup plan. There is another new BC Hydro station right around in here at Tetsa River Lodge. It is exactly the same as the Liard Hot Springs one with the generation and the solar panels and so on. Only 50 kilowatts, but I can get to there, charge up a few more electrons there, and then in Fort Nelson itself there are public L2s available and possibly a public 1450 that I might have a choice of. That might mean an extra hour and a half, but I'm comfortable in assuming that we're going to have this one here. Now, assuming I make it to, assuming Fort Nelson is in operation, I can skip Prophet River and make it all the way down to 101. You read that name right, 101 with a W. It is actually mile 101 of the Alaska Highway. So they made a play on that name. So we can get down to 101. It is 200 kilowatt chargers, only one of which is available. So 100 kilowatt charging, that's still pretty good. That's pretty decent, and I can top up there. I may not have to stay all that long at 101. No, actually, because I'm not going to stop at Fort St. John, pardon me. So yeah, 101 I'm probably going to stay for about an hour. It might even be a little bit more if they don't have both sides of that 200 kilowatts up by Wednesday night, but I think they might. Fort St. John, of course, has a 180 kilowatt charger available, and that does appear to be working great. And yeah, we're showing people reporting 146, 150 kilowatt hours in a Ford F-150. So if 101, if there's some problem with 101, I might only just take enough to get me to Fort St. John. It's only about another 50 miles, 80 kilometers. And that's easy to get to. And then head across the Peace River at Taylor and up here. I could take this road. It is another beautiful road, and I've driven this and go around through Hudson's Hope. There is another charger set to open in Hudson's Hope, but I don't think it's a fast charger, and this is really a shorter route in terms of driving distance. I've added this as a destination only because PlugShare mapped out this road, and I don't want this road. So I can turn off the Alaska Highway, head south, and get to Highway 97 again. I could go to Dawson Creek. Again, it's nice to have options. There's 2 new DC fast chargers in Dawson Creek. So, I have some flexibility there, but I don't absolutely have to go there according to my plan. Chetwynd, I've been told it may not be in operation in time for me to be taking my trip through there, so I'm not counting on that, and I'm not including it in the route. I'd like to. Powder King Mountain Resort is on my trip. and that's about another 350 kilometers. So I'll be low by the time I get to Powder King, and again, that's the Pine Pass through the mountains, and it is pretty mountainous, and there is a fair amount of climbing there. So I'm going to have to be judicious. It would be great if Chetwynd is open for that, but you know, if I have to, I can continue on at McLeod Lake. There's another one, and I might just have to drive really slow. But it's not, you know, none of this is out of the question. And then if I make it to Bear Lake, if Powder King is open, I don't have to stop at Bear Lake. But Bear Lake is another brand new one, just opened within the last couple of days. I think there's yeah, August 30th, this is now operational. And somebody pulling 106 kilowatts in a RIA yesterday, so clearly it's working and great. And then we get to Prince George. And really, I call this the edge of civilization, because once we get to Prince George, everything else is easy. And this is my first Tesla site that I'm going to be able to go to. I have the A to Z Typhoon Pro adapter, so I will be using that on this trip. And yeah, stuff is working good. 250 kilowatts. My car only takes 150 max, but hey, I'll take it. And I expect to be there about an hour. I may not even need that much, depending on the circumstances when I actually arrive there. But I am looking forward to trying out a Tesla supercharger with my Ford and using the adapter and seeing how well that process actually works. Okay, so from there, On the Run convenience store at 100 Mile House. That's our next one. And that's 330 kilometers. You're kind of going through mountains. It's more really through valleys, and while there's some elevation change for sure, it's not really harsh, and 330 kilometers should really be doable. I don't think that's going to be a problem. So we'll get there. Again, the On the Run is a fast charger there. It's one of those plug share, or pardon me, free wire units, and apparently it's been pretty reliable. But again, I don't have to depend only on this. There are many other chargers. I've set filters to just kind of reduce the clutter in here, but there are many other chargers available through here. I could stop in Williams Lake. I can stop in Quesnel. There are a lot of different options. And then from 100 Mile House, I can drive all the way south down the Fraser Canyon to our next stop at the Silver Creek Travel Center. This is just west of Hope. I've used this one before. I've been in there. I rented a Tesla and drove from Vancouver to Calgary earlier this year, and this is one of the charging stops that I used, so I'm quite familiar with it. It's big. It's not likely to be full, so I have no problem with that at all. And once I've charged there, it's only 113 kilometers to my. So I'm down there for 0 hours. Maybe we'll put 0.5. So we're down there for 0.5 hours. And that gets me to my hotel in Surrey that I'm staying at this next week. Now, according to this, charging is going to add about 9 hours to the trip. The total distance is 2,500 kilometers, about 1,700 miles. And again, that goes the full length of BC. And it's saying a driving time of 27 hours, 35 minutes. Now, 9 hours of charging. Number one, it may not be that much. I'm estimating very conservatively here. Some of the stops I know are not negotiable, but in this case, I'm not too worried about some of the other ones. I believe that I'm going to be able to make it in under that 9 hours of charging, but I'd rather be more conservative than not. I've actually prepared a spreadsheet that theoretically shows it, and I'm showing an estimated charging time of 8 hours and 15 minutes. Now, that still sounds like a lot, and I doubt it's going to be below 7. I'm going to track my charging time very carefully. I want to be honest and transparent about that. I want to show how long this trip actually takes. But I will say that that isn't necessarily bad. If I was driving an ICE vehicle, I'd probably have at least 4 fuel stops, all of which would be very expensive. And I would be getting out at least occasionally to stretch my legs. You have to stop the car every once in a while. I would also probably, if I was driving a combustion car, be stopping overnight, probably in Fort St. John or Prince George, one or the other. And so this tightens the time up a little bit. I'm going to be able to sleep in the car on some of the charging stops, get a little nap time in and make sure that I'm not driving too tired. And, I can just plug the car in and charge and go and do my eating and bathroom breaks and whatever. So I know that sounds a bit like a rationalization, but I don't think that's an unreasonable amount of time. And when you consider how much money I'm going to be saving on this, I mean, I get all the way down to Liard without spending a penny on propulsion. And BC Hydro's rates are really reasonable. So, I'm looking forward to this trip. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully I'm not crazy. Now, there are downsides, and there are things that can totally derail this. I may find chargers that are out of order. The Yukon ones have been really reliable. The Liard Hot Springs one is a brand new one, so you never know. There may be some reliability issue. I may find other drivers charging. I ran into an instance on one of my Alaska trips this summer where I got to Beaver Creek and there were 2 EVs ahead of me waiting to charge. And they were gracious enough to let me in ahead of one of them. So, that was very nice of them. They didn't have to do that, but they were going to eat and they figured they were going to be waiting around anyway. They might as well let me get my volts in. But I realize some of these are kind of single stand chargers. I may not have access to them right away. There are other things that may interfere. There's certainly road construction that's still going on this time of year. There's a lot of different factors. But I'm currently showing a departure from Whitehorse at noon on Wednesday, September 4th, and I'm estimating an arrival at my hotel the following evening at 11:30 p.m. So almost a 36-hour trip, including the charging time. So we will see how accurate it is. Again, my plan is to keep a detailed record of everywhere I'm stopping and how much time it's taking me to charge at each of those stops and how much I spend at each of those charging stops. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you very much for indulging me here. We'll talk to you again soon.